The whole world's talking about the coronavirus. But do you know what's coming next? I've been investigating factory farms for 15 years. I've seen the diseases brewing inside, and I can tell you that COVID-19 is just the beginning. The coronavirus spread to human beings from a wild animal meat market in China. But viruses also spread to humans from pigs, cows, and chickens here in factory farms in the United States. The overcrowded, unsanitary conditions are the perfect breeding grounds for infections. I've seen piglets with black and brown scabs covering their faces and skin, a sign of staph, an infection that can be contagious to human beings. And for exposing these conditions and rescuing animals like little Lori, I am facing 16 felonies and potentially decades in prison. Our government knows what's coming, but they're prioritizing profit over public safety. The UN issued a report last year indicating that over 10 million people annually could die by antibiotic-resistant infections by 2050. And yet 70% of antibiotics continue to be fed to animals in factory farms. And the overcrowded conditions continue to promote viruses like swine flu and avian flu. So why isn't the government addressing this threat? Because the US meat industry sends millions of dollars in political donations every year, insulating itself from any scrutiny. And the pharmaceutical industry was the fourth largest spender in lobbying in 2019. As a result of this legalized bribery, factory farms are not required to report the antibiotics they use. And federal inspectors are barred from making spot checks on farms that determine the prevalence of dangerous pathogens. That means there is virtually no government oversight over practices that endanger the future of human life. So I went inside Smithfield to investigate. And in addition to finding rampant animal cruelty, I found disease and drug use. Tetracycline, penicillin, and even carbadox, a carcinogenic drug that has been banned in Australia, Canada, and most of the European Union. But even with all these drugs, animals like Lori are still getting sick. When we found Lori, her face was covered with lesions. We rushed her to the vet, and tests found that she was suffering from 2 dangerous infections. Emergency medical care saved Lori's life. But millions like her are still sick in factory farms, and our government is turning a blind eye. So when we blame China for COVID-19, it's front page news.
Well, I think China is to blame because the culture where people eat bats and snakes and dogs and things like that, these viruses are transmitted from the animal to the people, and that's why China has been the source of a lot of these viruses.
When we look at the factory farms here in the United States, it's ignored, or worse, the whistleblowers face criminal charges. We have the power to stop these diseases, but only if our government addresses the root cause. Canceling the Olympics and Disneyland won't stop the next outbreak. What we really need is to cancel animal ag. Please sign to support the whistleblowers and the right to rescue.